So, good afternoon, everybody. This is Bobby Piton with Piton Points with a post-market and political update for March 31st, 2021. I'm trying a couple things differently here, so I hope you guys deal with me, but I'm going to maybe share my screen a little bit and see if people find that interesting at all, and kind of give you guys an update as to what I'm seeing. And so let me see here. So right now I am doing this. Hold on one second, folks. Copy. And then I just want to post this in one spot. So thank you for dealing with me with getting used to this whole system here. Yeah, and I'm waiting for some people to come in. I want to make sure that this is working. And so, that's that. So let me see here. Hey, Uncle Downer, how are you? Glad you could make it. Thank you for coming in. And I'm going to get started here in 1 second. Okay, so here's post-market Piton points. And then right there. And I think we should be good to go. Okay. So let's talk about President Trump. Okay, we'll start today's broadcast with President Trump and so forth. And there's an article that came out today with regards to him blasting what's taking place with regards to the tax increase that Biden is calling for with the infrastructure package. Now, it turns out, as anybody who's watched me over the past few months knows, I am a big believer in all the policies, for the most part, pretty much every single policy that Trump has put into place in the past 3-4 months and so forth. And, with his latest comments with regards to the infrastructure program, I find it's pretty interesting from the standpoint that this is one of the rare times that I disagree with the former president of the United States. And I want to explain why I disagree with the president of the United States on this issue, because I do think it's a really big deal. And with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and kind of show you this press release that I guess this commentary that was made about it. President Trump has come out and said he thinks that this plan would a radical plan to implement the largest tax hike in American history on corporations would be a massive giveaway to China. Now, and then, it's going to drive a lot of factories, millions of jobs out of the economy. Now, this is an interesting, folks, this is an extremely interesting situation we find ourselves in, because Biden is actually doing some things to put American workers first. Okay, which is a first. So I happen to agree with the concept that tax rates for actual human beings, human Americans, okay, not corporate Americans. A corporation is treated as a legal person in our system. Human beings are legal people in our system as well. And so what I would say is that this whole concept of President Trump saying that this tax increase is going to drive companies out, I'm not entirely sure it's true. And the reason why I say I don't think it's true is because these companies have profited tremendously over the past 12, 18 months during this virus. Profits are at an all-time high. And yet the tax rates for Americans relative to corporations is higher. So for the average American worker, our taxes are higher than corporation tax rates. And now keep in mind, if you are a domestic company in the United States, so you're a small business in America, your tax rates are higher than these globalist taxes. So if you're a company such as Microsoft or Google and Apple, and you can offshore your profits, you'll have a lower effective tax rate than the local bar, that lost a lot of money last year because it had to close down if it's lucky enough to come back up. So I do not believe in additional taxes, period. Let me make that perfectly clear. I've said it once, I'll say it again. 1 out of every $8 in this country used to go to the government. 1 out of every 8, a little over 100 years ago. Right now, 1 out of every $2.50 goes to the government, all 3 levels of government. That's a big problem. So while I agree that corporations, global corporations in particular, they should pay higher taxes, but only if we offset tax cuts for people that work. So if you physically work and you are doing work in the economy versus a corporation that's offshoring, that's echoing, guys. Turn that off, please.
He's just got them on.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm testing some new equipment and I could hear the echo and I wanted it off. So thank you for dealing with that because I'm just testing this out. I want to see if I get this right. So one thing I wanted to start the show with saying is I don't think I'm ever, I say I don't think I ever will because I don't want to eat my words, but I have no interest in ever putting makeup on, folks. So what you see is what you get. so any of these broadcasts and stuff, I have no interest in ever wearing any makeup. I think it's just like the fake news. It looks like a fake person. You put makeup on these people, they look fake as far as I'm concerned, and I have no interest in ever wearing makeup. So what you see is what you get when it comes to how I look when I'm on film. So take the good and bad, and you got to take the ugly with what I'm saying. So anyways, going back to this whole thing with taxes, the United States Supreme Court ruled that corporations are people, okay, from a legal perspective. That allowed corporations, believe it or not, to have massive influence on our elections, okay? Let me repeat that. Because corporations are deemed to be legal people, they have massive influence on our elections. So you want to understand why these insane agendas that are pursued by nut jobs, especially in the lunatic left side of the aisle, how do they get funded? How is this happening? Well, who's doing this, right? I mean, I can't be alone thinking this. Well, I'm trying to explain to you folks, this is why it's happening. Because they got an unlimited checkbook and they could push an agenda that causes dissension and animosity toward other groups within society because they have unbelievable resources at their disposal. And they can accumulate even more resources by offshoring and parking profits overseas. And so this is kind of the problem here. So whereas President Trump is out here saying these mega corporations pay higher taxes, I'm basically saying, no, they should, but only if the average American worker gets their tax rate below what corporations are taxed at. You got to remember something. Our military, okay, we're in over 100 countries in the world. Why are we in over 100 countries in the world? Do you really believe it's for peace and prosperity of us on our U.S. soil? Absolutely not. It's to secure trade lanes for global corporations. So from my perspective, corporate taxes, especially not on domestic companies, but international companies, they should be higher to pay the damn freight. If you want to have all these open markets around the world, we should have cost accounting take place. Cost accounting is you want to be over here and it costs $100 billion a year to keep that business going in let's just say in Asia, for example. Then corporations that benefit from Asia that have U.S. military forces, those companies have to pay the $100 billion tab. Now, if in Europe it costs $50 billion now because Trump saved us $3 trillion. So kudos to you, President Trump. You've saved us over $3 trillion over the next 30 years by making NATO pay its fair share. So God bless you, sir. I think God bless you, Mr. President. That's real money, folks. $3 trillion is 3 million millions. So I want you to think about that number. President Trump over the next 30 years by saving us 3 million millions, because we are subsidizing the Europeans for some reason. Think about that for a second. Who the hell pulled out that scam? And how much money was getting fleeced or skimmed off of that 3 trillion? So 3 million millions. If we have 150 million workers in the United States, that works out to what? There's 3 million millions. So then that comes out to, I think, about $20,000 in savings for every worker in America over the next 30 years. President Trump saved the average worker in America by that one policy about $20,000 over the next 30 years, that if they're working. Now think about that. You have kids that are going to college. You got money you want to save for retirement. That's money that we get to keep, people. You know, the Americans get to keep that 20 grand across 150 million people working. So for a household, it could be 40 grand. You know, think about that. And that's not even including all the money we save, you know, like putting that money to work on U.S. soil and investing. So, you know, this with regards to this infrastructure, what I do agree with regards to President Trump's statement, and I'm you know, is he said that this will be a giveaway to China. Okay. It doesn't need to be, folks. If what you want to do is, if this is true, like, you know, we're going to do this infrastructure plan and we raise corporate taxes, and then corporations say, you know what, U.S., no problem. We're not going to, you know, we don't want to be in the United States with all the money, right? We're gonna move production overseas because of your higher tax rates. You say no problem. We're just going to put a tax, a tariff on that's going to offset exactly how much money you think that cost differential is. That's the way you do it, folks. You can literally mute through tit to tat. It's called tit for tat. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard it before. And you know, I happened to go to Kellogg, which at the time there was a big rivalry when I went to Kellogg between University of Chicago and Kellogg Northwestern School. Over economics, because Kellogg was really pushing to build an economics program to compete with the University of Chicago, because the University of Chicago has a lot of Nobel Prize winners, and so so Northwestern was hiring a lot of really, you know, I guess you can say in academic circles, famous. Like, the rest of the world's like, who the hell is that? Like, it's just some economist that's coming up with some crazy theories. So, anyways, when I was at Kellogg and I took my international economics classes in graduate school, and we study different types of policies. What we're sold in the public sphere is a lot different than reality. There is policy responses that can be crafted that mute these insane arguments that people from both the Republican side and the Democratic side make. As far as I'm concerned, I'm an American first, period. I don't care about the GOP as much as I ever did. You know, it's at my lowest point right now. My GOP, how much I care about the GOP is probably the percentage of people that are true Republicans in the state of Illinois, which is probably about 1 in 11. I mean, Illinois is completely gone. 70% of our state legislature are Democrats, and 2/3 of the remaining so-called Republicans are rhinos. They're only Republican in name only. They don't give a shit. You know, I'm just sorry about the language, folks, but these Republicans are not Republicans. They don't have any problem, you know, passing and going along with all this social engineering that we're witnessing. They're okay with abortion, and they think they have to do it in order to win. No, this is the reason why 30 to 40% of the state is now independent, because you guys sold us out. You sold out conservatives. You sold out people that believe in the U.S. Constitution. And so with this issue, you know, I strongly am against it. You know, with regards to making an argument that corporations shouldn't pay more in taxes. Why? My other question, the way I would phrase it is, you know, what's the deal with? Okay, if people say, Bobby, you can't raise taxes, you shouldn't raise taxes ever, right? That's the whole argument. Don't ever raise tax on anything. And I said, let me make something clear. I said, we shouldn't raise tax on corporations unless dollar for dollar we get tax cuts on the average American worker. And this whole argument, well, Bobby, the corporations are going to pass through their taxes. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's not true. You know what? I'm tired of hearing this crap where people try to scare people into common sense. You should ask yourself a more basic question than corporate tax and personal tax. If a corporation that has 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times more than you do, if it has equal rights as you do, shouldn't it have equal taxes as much as you do? Why is that such a crazy concept? If it has just as many rights as you do with an unlimited checkbook, and then it pays a cheaper tax rate than you, I don't buy it. I think it's an insane argument. And these guys have been selling this crap on CNBC and Bloomberg for years. Okay, all the major media outlets, you know, the ones with the makeup. So if you want to listen to people over there with their makeup on, you know, that's where you go. If you want non-makeup Bobby, then you can come here and join my 26 followers. Anyways, no, I'm just joking. Thank you for everybody for showing up. I'm not being a smartass. I'm saying I'm just working on trying to get the word out, folks. And you know, we need to get educated on the issue and stop buying what they're pitching. You know, because they're shoveling a lot of brown stuff at us. And that's just the way it is. I didn't make it, so don't be mad at me. I'm just calling it out as I see it. So that's one big thing. You know, Georgia's governor, which obviously you guys all know what I think about Georgia. It's been probably the most, you know, of all the states that I examined before I started looking at Illinois data, Georgia is probably the most corrupt data set in the country. The other thing I've noticed about Georgia is you can look this up yourselves. I think if I recall properly, I think there's 167 counties in Georgia. So let's take a look. Are there 167 counties in Georgia? You know, when you have 167 counties in Georgia, when it has the population, yeah, there's 167. When you have 167, when the population is less than 2 times the size of Arizona, with 15 counties. I want you to think about that. Why the hell does Georgia have 10 times as many counties as Arizona when it has less than twice as many people? And what I would say is that's a damn good question. Like you need to ask yourself, why are they having this many counties? And so, you know, when you have this many counties, hold on one second. You know, when you have this many counties in the state of Georgia and you have 15 counties in the state of Arizona, you have a situation where you should ask motive. What's the motive? Why would you have 167 versus 15? And now you got to ask yourself this obvious question that which we should all be asking, which is what's easier to kind of engineer a desired outcome in various elections? Is it more counties or less counties? Is it harder to kind of do some things that you shouldn't be doing with more counties or less counties? Is it harder to monitor more counties or less counties? And so what I would say is Georgia, the citizens of Georgia, because after I'm done with Arizona, I'm going to be going over all that data again, as I mentioned. I'm turning my attention and direction back onto Georgia. And I'm going to review all that data again from scratch. And one of the things I'm going to do when I look at that is I'm going to look at, you know, what kind of relationships exist among these 167 counties. It's going to be quite an operation. I'm gonna try to look into it and figure out why are they organizing these things this way through the use of statistics. And then, you know, even Pennsylvania, which is it's larger than the state of Georgia. I think they had under 70 counties. So Pennsylvania has, you know, I think Pennsylvania has 67 counties. So Georgia has 100 counties more. So Georgia has 167. Pennsylvania has 67. So why? That's a damn good question. And so that's a question I'm going to look into, because I do think that there's probably a lot of information to be had by looking at that information. So But Pennsylvania is not on my list of going over anything anytime soon. It's right now it's Arizona probably for the next 4 weeks. I'll be doing nothing but Arizona data when I'm not working, and then I'll be looking at Georgia data thereafter. Okay, so this whole thing with Georgia, the Georgia backlash, I'll look at that more closely. It's already passed, so I'm not really overly concerned about it. And like I said, this Georgia article is on CNBC. You could pull it up and look at it. There's some corporations that are threatening, to I guess, I'm not sure if they're going to move their corporate headquarters out of there. They're mad about this. It's all the same culprits, folks. The global corporations that seem to be upset about this law are the ones that are pushing this insane agenda that we've kind of been seeing. And so, frankly, I don't really. I think in this case, even though I think Kemp is not a very good governor of Georgia for a lot of reasons, I think him passing that law is actually a step in the right direction for the people of Georgia. So based on what I see with regards to election integrity and trying to clean up the mess as a nation, I do think that this initial step that Georgia is following is a very good step in the right direction for Georgia. I'm not sure if it's gone far enough. And so, those 2 senatorial races in January, I don't want to talk about what's wrong with anything, right? Because I got to be careful about anything with regards to election stuff. But what I will say is I ran the analysis the very next morning, and I sent it off to Monica Matthews down in Atlanta, Georgia, and I sent it off to some other folks because there was some very interesting stuff that took place in those findings relative to the previous election that took place in November of 2020. So you had 2 data sets. You had this runoff election, or this other election that was held in January. Then you had the core election that took place in November. And it's a beautiful thing because you have 2 sets of data that you can compare the differences in within a very short period of time before more or less people should have moved out of the area. So there was a lot of information that you could have gathered out of those data sets, and I encourage other people to look at it. Georgia does not make it easy for people to analyze the data, folks. Just the FYI, they make it more difficult to do, which also seems to coincide with a lot of other issues that they seem to be having or what they've had. And so, okay, well that's that. In terms of the other thing I was just going to mention is it's the end of the quarter. The market is going to be starting the second quarter tomorrow. It finished up, the S&P finished up nicely, about 41 pips, but year to date, it finished at 396.33. It started the year, I think, around 368 or something along those lines. So it's up pretty nicely on the year. The NASDAQ, hold on one second. What are you guys doing?
Just wait, I thought you were gonna
No. So with regards to, the NASDAQ, sorry, folks, I'm just kind of getting the hang of this. The NASDAQ, you can see, started the year. This isn't exact because this is year to date. This is the first day of trading, which is January 4th. If you just go to Google, you'll see that on January 4th, it was 309. It closed at 319. It's up a little over 3% on the year. And, the big winner on the year is definitely small caps. Small caps, which are, the IWM is the proxy for that. That started the year at about 193, and it's up at 220. So it's up over 12%, 12% on the year. So small caps have been on fire, which is pretty amazing because that's a risk on trade from the standpoint of, there's a saying on Wall Street, risk on, risk off. When people are less concerned about the future, there's a risk on trade that takes place. Now, what's also coincides with this TLT, if you look here, that's the 20-year treasury. You can see, you can pull it up, TLT. That's the ETF at the beginning of the year. Not exactly, folks, because I don't know why Google doesn't show me December 31st. It was at 157.54. Bonds, you're down $20, $20 since the beginning of the year on treasuries. So while you're earning 2.34%. So you picked up about 0.5% on the year if you invested in this thing and you invested in treasuries because you were nervous about the market. You would be down about 12%. So it's kind of interesting. If you lost 12% in bonds, 20-year bonds, and you picked up about 12% in small cap stocks, so that's a 25% swing between those two securities. So if you had $1 million in the market, or let's just say 100,000, and you were nervous and you bought bonds, you'd be down 12 grand. You bought small caps, you'd be up 12 grand about. So you're talking about a $25,000 swing per 100 grand. That's a big deal, folks. So when I'm telling you all this, because I'm not telling you what you should do with your money, but what you should try to do at a minimum is don't listen to all these negative voices that don't tell you a sound economic reason and logical case for why they're so negative. Try to do your own work. Go talk to a professional. Feel free to contact me and fill out a form. If you go to Preactive Investments right here, preactiveinvestments.com, you can go there, and I'm more than happy to talk to you about what you might be able to do with your money and manage your money in a way that your money is working for you intelligently. And so that's all I can say about that. Is I can't go into specific recommendations. So that's my disclaimer. I'm in a very heavily regulated industry, and you should think about that for a second. If people that know what you should possibly do with your money, because I'm saying if you think I possibly should know what to do with your money, kind of thing. But if you're looking for financial advice, and then all of a sudden somebody that is giving you all this advice for free and telling you what to buy and what to sell and how you should do this and that and the other, my guess is they're not one of the regulated people. So, because it would be like me being a doctor, me trying to claim I'm a doctor and telling everybody this is what you need to do, to deal with your stomach ailment and your heart condition. And, aside from common sense stuff, folks, where I say, you know what, if you're carrying an extra amount of weight, you may want to lose that weight. It might help your health. Okay. I can speak like that in general terms, but the moment I start telling you, well, if you take this, and this, and, this is the reaction that's going to take place, everything else. And then you're like, well, Bobby, are you a doctor? And I'm like, no. Oh, so you're talking like you're Bill Gates with vaccines. I'm sorry, I had to throw that one out there. Because Bill Gates has no business trying to act like an expert on vaccines unless he goes and gets certified, because I think that's a bunch of horse manure, I guess. And so, anyways, I think that's about it, folks. There wasn't really that much more. I will chime in this way in the morning with the video and see, get more used to it. So thank you for dealing with the technical difficulties. If you felt there were any, hopefully this is a little clearer, so you can see all the nicks and I guess what would I say, that nooks and crannies of my face or something. Anyways, just kidding around. I'm not gonna paper it over with any makeup. So. With that being said, hope you guys. What's that?
If you want to take any comments, you can.
Yeah, you know what? Since I have my keyboard and it's easy and I'm not on a phone, does anybody have any questions? And I'll answer some questions and respond right in here. I guess I could just throw them in the comments section, and I'll answer some questions. And if I can't answer it because of regulatory issues, I'll just tell you. Use a filter. For what? My voice, my look, or my occasional cursing? Which one, Henry? What's this?
Yeah, anything you put. There you go.
There you go. Use a filter. Thank you, Henry.
Click it, it goes away.
All right. Okay, so what do you got? Anybody else? Bueller? Oil as an industry. What do I think about oil as an industry? Well, oil has had an incredible run. Let me take a look. Actually, I'll talk about Michigan in a second. I owe somebody a phone call on that. Let me see. So here's oil. This is the USO. And so I'm just going to expand this for a second. And then when I go to the USO, you'll see that year to date, it started at about $33. I think it's ended the year at 33, went down to 32. So if you quickly say, okay, $40.50, USO is a proxy for oil, folks. Actually, so let me just expand that. So I don't know. I wish, you know what? I got to figure out how to move this kind of like, zoom it a little better. But oil is up about 22% on the year. And so raw oil is up 22%. Once again, there's a lot of reasons for that. You can say that some of the reasons that that's occurred is because they did shut down the pipeline project. That's a big issue. So that's not good because instead of the money being spent on U.S. Oil, it's being shipped overseas, which is not good. I don't like that, and so forth. And overall, the industry, if you think that the economy is about to grow because of all the stimulus that's taking place, then what I would say is, with the stimulus that's taking place, that's definitely a supply. That's a demand benefit to oil right now. I don't have an opinion as to the price of oil. I'm just trying to tell you things in general terms for what you should think about it if you're going to invest in oil. You should look at the relationships between how much oil is consumed based on the size of the economy, how fast the economy is growing, how slow is it growing, which industries and which things are worth looking at before you make a decision. But those are all the things I look at before I make decisions. I try to build a puzzle, kind of like a mosaic of what I should be doing before I look into specific sectors or industries. And so, that's that. The name of the company is Preactive Investments. So if you just look at the banner, it's right here. It's preactiveinvestments.com. That's the name of the company. I'll just leave that there. Okay. So in terms of voting stuff with regards to, hold on, I don't know who put that up. Hold on a second. Sorry, folks. Okay, voting stuff with regards to Michigan. I had somebody reach out to me about that today. Last night, actually, I got to still respond. I've been too busy with work, but I'm going to see what I could do with regards to Michigan and help. I'm not going to help on the analysis piece. They didn't, not that I'm aware of. They haven't asked me about that, but they asked me for some other information that I might have that can help. So I will, Annette, I will be looking at sending that off. Okay, why should there be an income tax on individuals? It used to be zero. Hey, Dave, that's a damn good question. I happen to think that work should be taxed at zero. Physical labor. This country has $100 trillion of actual wealth in terms of physical assets and things that are organized. So that you can make the argument that there should be no income tax for anybody who physically works, and that tax should be similar to what it is on property prices. It should be some type of asset tax that's tied to securing that property. Because if you think about it, let's break it down from a standpoint of cost accounting. Okay. And so this is good. I kind of like this. Thank you guys for asking questions, because this makes it easier with the setup to do this. With regards to tax policies, why should we be paying taxes? That's a great philosophical question. If we were to set up a new society, and the 42 of us plus me, so 43 of us, decided we were going to set policy, how should we charge taxes? What should we pay? And so what I would say is, okay, number one, we need safety, right? Everybody can agree with that. Okay, we need to be safe. So what does it mean to be safe? Well, we don't want our house burning down, so we need firefighters. We don't want our streets to have issues, so we need police. And then we don't want a foreign country to invade us and steal all our stuff and kill us off. Okay, so we need a military. So I think we're all in agreement. We need taxes for that. Nobody's getting out of that one. Yeah, all 43. I think all 43 of us need to pay taxes. If you don't want to pay, then we're going to help pay for an airline ticket for you to move to China. Because you don't belong to being an American if you don't think that we should make sure we have protection. Some sort of protection. I'm not interested in having vigilante justice. I back the blue and I back the firefighter. So I guess I hate to use the word red because it's associated with these satanic communists, but I would say firefighters, I guess, is red. So maybe we should say, I back the blue, the dark blue and the light blue. There we go. We got a new tagline. Dark blue is the police force. Light blue is the water putting out the fires. So I back the blues, just like Chicago Blues. Anyways, the Blues Brothers. So with regards to that, we need taxes for that. So then it's like, okay, we need taxes to support our courts. That's a good question. Because what do we do when we have horrible judges and judges that don't uphold the Constitution? We need to come up with a mechanism to knock those guys out, and those guys and gals that are corrupt. But anyways, we need to have taxes to fund our court system, because we need to have something that deals with our contracts, right? So we need a court system for that. So we have to have taxes for that of some sort. And you got to remember, the taxes could be nominal, that they're there, because then there should be court fees associated with it. But there should be no backlog. A backlog is a sign of too much demand and not enough supply. So if we have a backlog in our court system, we need more judges. And that's all I could tell you. And the problem is, we got more than enough damn lawyers. There's more lawyers than judges. So maybe we need to find more high quality people to become judges. Okay. So then in terms of the income tax, what I would say is, with regards to income tax on those things, I think we're all in agreement with that. Education, I think there should be a basic floor on education that each person's entitled to, that has been confirmed that they exist, not this whole blanket crap where, somebody just writes on a piece of paper they exist and you give them a check. I don't believe in that. And that's what these demonic Democrats want to do with HR 1. They want people to attest who they are on a piece of paper, and they have a right to vote. And if you don't agree with them, you can be, and you're proven wrong, you can be fined and possibly jailed. That's why this thing is horrible. But anyways, with regards to education, I think that we should be taxed on a much more controlled manner that's tied to per capita results, and that each parent gets a stipend. So that they have kids, they might not pay anything in taxes. They just have to pay the burden on themselves and meet certain requirements that the money is being spent on people that are educating their children if they homeschool, or if, there's got to be a better process is all I'm saying. We're overpaying for K through 12 education, and we're getting horrible results by teachers that hate this country and they hate the Constitution. And I think we need to dismantle that. But how do you fund all those things I just talked about? No problem. You fund it with assets. The country's worth $100 trillion. You put a 1% tax on it. That's $1 trillion. So guess what? All of a sudden you solve all this inequality garbage and this nonsense, because there's 300 million Americans that are worth 12 trillion. So you know what their cut of taxes per $1 trillion would be? 120 billion. What the other $880 billion, who that'd be paid by? Okay. 500 billion would be paid by the richest 1/10 of 1%, or 1 in 1,000 of us. And then the other taxes of the other 399 billion or so, 380, not 380, because I said 1%. So you're talking about 120 plus 6, the other $380 billion of taxes, that'd be paid by the top 10% minus the 1/10 of 1% in taxes. So that's a much fairer system. Guys, I think 300 million Americans should only pay 120 billion in taxes per, $1 trillion of government spending. Who the hell is not going to vote for me? And it's a very fair structure. We're taxing all the assets, because our military's defending $100 trillion. Hey guys, I only get 12% of that military budget on 300. If 300 million Americans only own 12%, why the hell are we sending our kids off and paying over half the tab? It's not complicated. I'm like, wait a second. You want my kids to go because the rich don't send their kids. You want my kids to go if I'm middle class or someone who's poor in this country, and you want me to pay half the taxes for the military? Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, by the way, and the military is going to protect trade lanes to countries that are taking away my jobs because you're helping close down the factories here. And by the way, these same corporations, we're going to cut their taxes and jack you in the face. Wow. Where do I sign up for that, folks? Oh, wait, that's what we're in. We've already all signed up to it. Oh, yeah, 7,000 government officials not voting for me. No, they are not. So with regards to the minimum investment, I don't have a minimum investment. Anybody who needs help and needs to learn how to get started with investing, I'm more than happy. You can email me and talk about it. I had this conversation with my wife. Now, granted, you're not going to get the same level of service as someone who does meet the minimum. But what I am doing for people that are just starting out and don't have a lot of money to invest, I'm going to create a way for people to find out what books they need to read. And maybe I'll do like a little series of clips that they can watch to better understand what they need to look into when it comes to investing. So I'm trying to do things that kind of pay it back because, my parents came here and, I wish that someone would have talked to them about investing. They worked hard. They had money they were saving. They got paid little to nothing on it in the banks. And the 80s was one of the biggest bull markets ever. And my parents, along with probably a bunch of other parents that were wary about the stock market, missed out on that opportunity. And it sucks, but it's life. And so if there's something I can do to help get that going, I will try to figure out what I need to do, because I've been having a lot of people reach out to me from the entire spectrum. People that are just starting out and don't have any money to invest just yet and want to know what to do. And I've had people that have, just multiples of millions of dollars. And everybody in between. So I think that's something that I'll look to do. So let me see here, creating more government. Yeah, the way we stop creating more government is to get more Americans involved in all levels of government. So that's a big deal. So that's what I would say to that. What's an investment refugee where there's inflation? Yeah, Dan, that's what I get paid to do with clients. So all I can tell you is there are things that you can do if you want to avoid inflation, but that's what I get paid to do when clients sign on. And so if you want to understand what to invest to protect your money, I like giving advice and what you need to think about and what you need to do and where you can look to learn how you should make your own decisions. But the moment you want me to start making the decisions for you, that's where I need to get paid. And so all the stuff on voter stuff is my charitable giving at this point. So I'll just stick with the charitable giving on the voting front and voter integrity things. But in terms of financial advice, I don't give that out at no price. Who else is saving up their Piton points? That's funny. I'm not sure what that means.
It's like a coupon clipper system.
Oh, who's saving their Piton points?
Yeah.
I see.
I don't know what you spend them on.
I see. I see. Maybe I understand what you're saying now. So, all right. Any other questions? Otherwise, people aren't falling off. So for some reason, you guys seem to find me entertaining, or maybe it's just you like to look at my my hairdo. I love all the comments about the hair. Anyways, thank you guys for everything. Wait, thanks to love to hear about your reading list. Happy to pay for your help. Yeah, in terms of the reading list, what, like on a daily basis, or you're talking about what books to read about investing? Dan, what do you mean?
You'll pop in.
So Dan, I was asking, what can you specify the question with regards to the reading list?
Delay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm new to this. I didn't know about this delay business. I thought it was all in real time.
In the meantime, people can go to PythonPoints.com if they want your help.
Well, no, preactive investments. Yeah. Oh, what books to read? If you're taking the time to learn about investing, one of the best books that a new person, like someone who's never invested before in the stock market, should read is a book by Peter Lynch called One Up on Wall Street. Peter Lynch is a phenomenal investor, one of the best investors of all time. That book was a wonderful read for me 20-something years ago, 25 plus years ago. And he's the one that turned me on into reading about Warren Buffett. So then the other thing I would say is, if you want to learn about investing from a really ground floor level, go to berkshirehathaway.com. Okay, so I'm going to type this, Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, so let me get that too. Hold on, Hathaway.com. And you can download these newsletters for free, folks. So you can go to berkshirehathaway.com and you can download his newsletters over the years. Here, you can give me the 2 books off the bookshelf. So this is a really good book right here called The Warren Buffett Way. And if you want to kind of do your own cooking, so to speak, and learn how to invest, it's a wonderful book. And, I haven't I was going to do some podcasts on some of these books, but I highly recommend this one. This is a wonderful book. And actually, there's a foreword by Peter Lynch. Look at that. Here I am talking about Peter Lynch, and then Peter Lynch returns the favor and talks about Warren Buffett. So anyways, that's a wonderful book. And then if you really want to go crazy, you got some light reading here. Now, keep in mind, there's some photos and so forth. But this is super cool. This is a wonderful book. And I had to own my own version of it. This was written in 2005, Andrew Kilpatrick. It's called Of Permanent Value. And this book is, it's over 1,500 pages, folks. But it really goes into, that book is not so good anymore. I mean, it's good as a reference, but I wouldn't recommend it. No, but don't be throwing out my book stuff. Just because I wouldn't recommend a book doesn't mean I don't like it as a reference. So anyways, this book is like literally, it goes into the nooks and crannies. So if you guys have time to break down and start reading this book gradually, like over the course of a year, it's 1,500 pages, 3 pages a day. You're talking about 6 pages a day, 5-6 pages a day, piece of cake. You read 5-6 pages of that book, but the problem is you need to read a bunch of other books too. So you got to split up your time. But anyways, that's a phenomenal book if you want to kind of learn about that. And I would highly recommend, if you have young kids, to learn those, to look into some of those books as well. You can never get kids started young enough. I think it's a massive disservice in this country, in the K through 12, that we have no problem teaching people how, I don't even know what the hell, how to hate this country, but then teaching them how to manage their own resources and so forth is often overlooked. It's absolutely pathetic. And it goes to show you how evil and corrupt these people are that have taken over our school system in this country. Are you able to help people who really need it, for example, and to help people who really need it, for example, disabled or very old without a family? That's why we have social programs in this country. If people are in need and they have no family, we have social stabilizers in this country, hence the name Social Security. Social Security is meant as a backstop for people that are down and out or don't have family. And there's also Medicaid, I think, for people that are poor. Not poor in spirit, just poor with physical resources. So maybe, they can contact the government because we're all paying in for that type of baseline floor in society. So that's the best thing to do if you know people that have that need some help. Okay. Thanks again. Think about it. My son graduates finance. Awesome. Well, congratulations. That's absolutely wonderful. So I wish him all the best. It's a great industry. Tell him not to follow the conventions and blaze his own path for what's right for people. Put the clients first. Just like we got to put America first, the finance industry needs to start putting its clients first, because too often this industry, I left it. I literally was so disgusted by the industry. I took some time off and did a sabbatical for a few years. And I was so disgusted and just, did a lot of time reading and thinking and kind of setting my own schedule of being quasi-retired until I kind of came back into the industry, because I realized, you know what, maybe I need to try to do something different and change things up. You know, and that's why I kind of came back into the industry a few years back. So anyways, what infrastructure? I don't know what you mean, Carolina, about infrastructure. Oh, the infrastructure is government programs. So if somebody needs help, and someone doesn't have the resources to help them in this country, if someone's poor, or disabled, or and so forth, has medical needs that need to be met, we have social security in this country for that. So, well, thank you, Mason. I appreciate it. I try to. I guess what you see is what you get. It doesn't fit with everybody else, but I don't like to keep track of two sets of ideas. I like to say it this way: if you always just speak whatever the truth is as you see it, then you don't have to worry about remembering anything else. You just kind of go through what you see and what you think. So I think the two keep you in check when you do that. But it forces you to have the difficult conversations much sooner, which is something that people don't like to have. So, all right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for chiming in. Thank you all for staying online, unless just one of you dropped off and a new one popped on, because it's been about 40 the whole time. So that's cool. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all the feedback and the questions. And, maybe tomorrow I'll try to go on a little earlier so I have a little more time for questions as well. Between 7, maybe I try to get on 5-10 minutes earlier so that I always have a little time for questions and so forth. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys at 8:30 if you're joining me for the greatest book ever written, which is the key to success and happiness in this life, and to restoring American greatness. And that is the Bible, folks. Unbelievable lessons that apply to what's going on in the world. And I like to try to take what I'm reading on a daily basis and explain how it relates to what we're all witnessing right before our eyes. So have a wonderful evening. Or I'll see you at 8:30. But if I don't see you, have a wonderful evening. Have a good one.